Okay, this is part 2 of the chapter 4 review for MGMT 320 class. Okay, we stopped at page 107 of chapter 4, and now we will discuss project management. One of the things that you need to have in place when you're developing an ERP info system is that you need to have a clear project plan and a reporting structure. And on page 107, figure 4-8, it's an example of a reporting structure for you to use as a model when you're taking on the task of implementing an ERP info system. Without a plan, without your organization or your group being organized, the chances of you succeeding in an ERP development task will decrease. Therefore, you need to have a reporting structure and a plan of action. And that figure 4-8 is a good model, a good example for you to have. For example, you need to identify the owners. In this case, it will be the organization. You need to have executive support, steering committee, a project management office or PMO, somebody representing all the different departments or functions in the organization. You need to have a group or a person that's the point of contact for information technology, somebody that's going to manage the change, and so on. So this is a good figure for you to use as a model and how to organize your team that's going to develop this ERP system. Next, on page 109, it talks about the project roles and responsibilities. One of the things that you need to do, for example, if you were to be the program manager for this ERP development and implementation activity, then you need to identify and describe the roles and responsibilities for everybody in the team. The reasons we define roles is so we understand and we know who has the responsibility for this or for that. Each member of the project team will need to know what is expected of them, who they will report to, and how they will be evaluated. For example, on your group project, hopefully by now everybody's identified the task in the project that you will complete. Of course, I've asked the PMs, the project managers, to make sure that the project keeps moving forward. And when team members complete their parts, hopefully all of you will be working together, and the project manager at the end will be able to post the deliverable, which is your group project report. Now at the bottom of page 109, it talks about the implications for you as a manager, for you as an organization. One of the things that we have in record is that these ERP implementation tasks and activities, they're painful to do. They're painful to complete. Oftentimes, these projects are unsuccessful. And as we said earlier, implementing an ERP system is very complex. There's too many parts to the system that it's very difficult to always succeed. However, here on page 109, it gives you some recommendations for you to use if you want to increase the chances of having a good or successful ERP implementation. And the first one that identifies at the bottom of 109, it says, first and foremost, it is critical to have a solid top management commitment. The company, the organization, and specifically the executives must be committed to this new ERP implementation decision. If we don't have executive support, when you bring this new ERP info system into the organization, you won't succeed. That implementation will not be successful. Another recommendation is, it says that it's also important to have strong and experienced program management. Whoever is managing the ERP implementation task, activity, must have a good foundation in project management. Therefore, somebody needs to be pretty much, when I use the word in charge, to make sure that this project gets completed on time, within budget, and that folks are held accountable to completing their assigned tasks, and so on. The next recommendation is, in order to minimize the type and number of customizations that are implemented, we need to test and make sure that we're moving along in each step of the process of the implementation task. Therefore, we need to somewhat control each of the phases, and for example, each of the phases of ERPLC or SDLC, and try to minimize the number of customizations that are performed, for example, to the info system itself. Next, it says, along with the actual implementation, it is critical to emphasize training and change management. Whenever we bring an info system into the organization, we need to emphasize that training will be needed for all the users, and that whatever changes are brought upon the organization because of this new system need to be managed. And one of the changes that always comes about whenever you bring an info system into the organization has to do with user resistance. We as employees, we as users, we resist any type of change. Therefore, if you're the project manager for this implementation task activity, you need to be aware of that, and you need to somehow use strategies to manage employee user resistance, as an example. And then the last one, it says, along with the actual implementation, it says, finally, effective and frequent communication will keep everyone on the same page and give the greatest chance of issues and problems being identified early, along with preventing problems before they are allowed to affect the project. In other words, we need to communicate throughout the implementation process of an ERP activity. Communication is key. Everyone in the team, everyone in the organization, everyone responsible for this ERP implementation must be on the same page. If everybody's doing their own thing and not communicating, not collaborating, not sharing any of the info, the implementation of this new info system for the organization will be a failure. Therefore, we need to try to prevent as many problems at the beginning instead of at the end. Similarly, your group project, I hope that you guys are working well together and that everybody has committed to completing part of the assigned task, and hopefully at the end of week 8, everybody will be able to feel good about their part, about their role, and be able to deliver a successful group project report. Okay, that's the end of the chapter 4 review. And I'm going to pause here for a sec, and then I'm going to talk about module 5 and the things that are expected of you to complete. Okay, so get ready to go to module 5 via Blackboard, and I will discuss it here in a sec. Okay, so hopefully you're on module 5 via Blackboard, and this is what you need to do for week 5. You will be assigned with the various activities. So beginning with activity 5.1, hopefully you'll take some time to read chapter 5 and chapter 6. Chapter 5 has to do with implementation strategies, and chapter 6 talks about software and vendor selection. Chapter 5, personally for me, it's an interesting read, and I would try to read that and take time to read it. That's a good and important chapter, especially for your group project activities. This chapter will come in handy. Anyway, so as usual, I'll place the my PowerPoint presentations on the Mr. Garcia's PPT tab. It'll be for chapter 5 and chapter 6. So it's up to you to either read the ones you find on the module 5 or read my PPT slides. Next, activity 5.2. Again, this is a good activity, and expect you to browse through these different, either if they're files or YouTube video clips. Take time to read them. This will give you some ideas of some of the things actual organizations and businesses do to implement and to use in their businesses. For example, the third one here where it talks about ERP implementation best practices. That's a good one for you to read. Also ERP software selection and so on. So take time to look at these resources on activity 5.2. As usual, activity 5.3 is your module review questions and module practice. Make sure to complete this, and again, don't forget about part 2. A lot of you are forgetting part 2. Anyways, and finally, we have the discussion selection of an ERP system. This is your discussion board. Again, make sure your initial post is posted by Saturday and comments to classmates by Monday. A lot of you are not completing this activity either, so I recommend that you do it in order to get points. Now, this activity 5.5 is similar to what you had to do with your activity 3.5, the research paper. Again, I'm looking for APA formatting. I want to make sure you have a title page, an abstract, 2 pages as a minimum of research, and then your last page should be your references. Again, it's not works cited, it's references page. Make sure you have a title page and that the header section of your title page says running head with the title in all caps and so on. I would say half the class did well on the first research paper and the other half did not. So make sure that you apply APA style formattings to this research paper. Again, there's no case study for module 5, but there is a research paper. Okay, make sure you use in-text citations to support what you say and so on. Alright, again, another opportunity for you to show me that you know how to conduct research and that you know how to apply APA style format. Again, another opportunity for you to explore some of these ERP systems, and maybe one of these you will use them in your group project. Okay. Now, finally, it's your group project outline. It will be due at the end of the week, which is April 27th. Make sure that you, as a group, submit your outline. When you submit the outline, project managers just put the names of the folks that contributed to it. If you have 4 team members and only 3 contributed, just put it in your report and let me know. Okay. Anyways, I'll be in touch. I'll be online with you, and send me an email if there's any questions or comments, and I'll be putting another announcement reminding you that we will not be meeting in the classroom for module 5. Alright? So let's keep in touch, and hopefully you'll have a good week. And then when we get together on week 6, we'll talk. We'll do a little bit of more review and make sure that everybody's doing well. Okay? Greetings from Oklahoma, and I'll see you guys.